Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
This is Jan Lewis. We have a real treat today. A woman that I actually never met, but I worked for a little while for her as her publicist. Her name is Anita Caruso. She's a children's author, and she has done a series of books based on her grandson. Great-grandson. You don't look old enough to have a baby. Braden's Magical Journey series. Paul's going to zero in on some of the exhibits there, and then later I'm going to show you some of the books that she has written. Welcome, Anita. Anita came to us from Brewster on Cape Cod today.
Yes.
And how long did it take you to get here?
Well, actually, about an hour and 35 minutes. No, actually, a little over an hour, that's all.
Did you get lost at all when you got here?
No, your directions were so perfect.
You know where I got that? My father. You could take a trip to China in the John. He had more maps in the because he was so traveled.
Oh, you did such a perfect job. However, I can't drive and read at the same time, so I had my friend come with me, she read it to me as I was driving, and it was perfect. Yeah. It worked out great.
And you got to go to Dunkin' Donuts.
No, Honeydew.
Oh,
I've never been to Honeydew.
Our Honeydew up here?
Way out. Way in the next town over.
Oh, my God. You got here early, so you could enjoy our...
I did. I had a couple of hours.
Well, that's good. At least you made it just fine.
I did. I didn't want to take any chances. Better safe than sorry.
Anita has actually written not only the Braden's Magical Carousel House and the Magical Jungle, but she's going to show you another one too, Magical Forest. These are, what age group would you say?
They are 2 to 8.
2 to 8 years old. All right. So these are definitely going to go with my two little ones, right? You know, 4. He's 4. Same age as your?
Yes, he's actually Braden's 6 in the book, but he's really actually only 4.5. And knows every word of all 3 books.
He knows. And does this look like your little grandson?
Great-grandson.
Great-grandson. Does this look like him?
Yes.
I looked at that. Who's the artist for these?
Randy Jennings.
What a fantastic job.
He has done, yes, because what happens is, in the first book, it's just Braden. In the second book, I have 4 other great-grandchildren in there beside Braden. Yeah. And the third one, I have 2 others beside Braden. And when you get to the part of doing the illustrations, he wants me to send in their hair color, their eye color, a nice picture of them.
Well, he really got it right.
So he's done such a fantastic job, and the illustrations are outstanding.
Braden's Magical Jungle, Braden's Magical Carousel Horse, which your great-grandson loved.
Yes.
And Magical Forest. Now, is there another one coming?
Yes, Braden's Magical Pirate Ship.
Where do you get these ideas?
They just come to me.
When did you start getting interested in writing?
Well, the memoir came first. Well, first of all, when I was a child, I used to tell stories to my cousins, because we used to go over as adults, and after we ate, the adults didn't want us at the table, so I would entertain my cousins with make-up stories. But then life took a different turn, and I didn't do any writing at all. And then my husband passed away in 2007, and I needed to do something. I had a journal, so I decided to join a writing group, which we are still doing today, and it was very cathartic for me to do the memoir.
Yeah. And that memoir is called As Ever Pud, a love story that never ends, told in letters, the memoir of you and your husband.
Right. And those are the letters that are floating up to heaven with the heart in them. So
how long did it take you to write this?
So it was March of 2014 it was published, so it took 7 years. Yeah.
Talented memoir writer as well as a children's writer. You don't find that a whole lot very often. So when you jumped from your memoir writing, what made you decide to go
Well, I wanted to continue writing, and I didn't know what to do, and I said to myself, I always wanted to do children's books, and I said this would be a perfect time. So I told my writing group, I said, I think I'm going to start writing children's books, but then, well, where do you start?
Yeah.
So I was up at my granddaughter's, and she was changing Braden's diaper, and I looked up at the room, and he had all these stuffed animals everywhere.
Yeah.
And then he had all these cloth animals, like it was just looked like a jungle. And I stood there and I thought, wow, maybe I'll write about the animals becoming alive.
Braden's Magical Jungle.
So I went home and I sat down and I thought, well, that's great. So now they're alive, but how do I get them to be alive? And then I don't know why it just came to me to magical glasses. Why can't he find magic glasses? And if he puts them on, he gets there. And if he takes them off, he comes back home. And that's just what I did.
Did you surprise your family?
Yeah, I think I did. I think they thought that I was just going to do the memoir and that was it. Yeah, so...
How long did it take you to write your first Braden story?
Well, I started in 14. Actually, it came out in... I think it came out in July. July of 2015. So it was like a year later.
You're doing really, really
and
well.
then the second one came out in January of 2016, and then Braden's Magical Forest came out at the end of the year, December 2016.
So the next one might be...
Well, I started to write it, and I'm get a quarter of the way through it, and then I really wanted to work on the first three.
Sure.
I think it's hard to just keep writing, and I need to get it out there so that people know that it's a series.
Definitely.
The reason that I put it in an acrylic stand is that in some of the bookstores, if you put them on the shelf, like even downstairs in the library, I went into the children's section and there's so many books.
Oh, yeah.
If the book goes in on the shelf, what is the chances of a child coming in and finding my book? And if I'm going to have a series, they have to know it's a series. So a couple of the bookstores down on Cape Cod have taken the acrylic stand with the three of them in there, and that way it's advertised as Braden's Magical Journey series.
Did you catch that, Paula? This is it's genius for authors who have series. I think it's wonderful. I've never, actually in all the authors we've had, you're the first one to have it come in a special stand.
I thought about that.
Yeah.
After I got it, I thought about it. I said, what am I going to do? And because I have posters and I have different things when I go to the craft fairs. But then I thought, why shouldn't I put it in an acrylic stand? And then if the fourth one comes out, I'll get the four. They make them 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
So I can do that.
Well, you could buy about 2 or 3 or 4 of the same kind. And now Anita goes to craft fairs and that type of thing.
Yes.
I've had my authors that I help out say to me, why would you want to schedule me at a craft fair? And I said, you watch.
Yeah.
Because at an arts and crafts fair, the odds of your being the only author are real good. And people are going to go by your table and be like, oh, this isn't what I was expecting.
Right.
And guess how many books you may sell?
A lot of books.
Where was the last one you were just recently?
Well, I was at a church, actually. I've been doing some, I do my craft fairs with another author, because she does historical fiction. So we work well together. And she has a different clientele that will buy, and I do too. But a few of them I've done myself at the churches because they provide the tables. Carrying a 6-foot table is very hard, and I need the help of my friend's husband too, and her to help me. So we were on a main street in Howard. The weather was cool, perfect for tourists. And they just came pouring into the church. So I did very well that day.
A lot of kids, were a lot of families with their children?
A lot of families with children's, but I get a lot of grandmothers too.
Were you the only children's author there?
Yes, at that particular one I was.
Only author, period?
No, there was another... no, there wasn't. I was the only children's author. Yes, however, they were having a book sale, so that kind of cut into it. I think I could have done a little bit better. They shouldn't have had a book sale. That was the wrong thing to do.
But you still did very, very well.
Oh, I did very well.
There's nothing like a nice new book, and you meet the author, and then she signs it.
Well, that's what I do. See, when they come, even if they don't have the child with them, first of all, you buy the book. You buy one book, you pay the retail price. You buy more than one book, you get a sale price. And then you get a free free pair of glasses, which actually do glow in the dark if you leave it under a lamp. And it turns green like the glasses in the book. So everybody loves it, and when the kids are there, they take the glasses and they walk around with the glasses.
And they love it.
And they love that. So,
Anita, how can people get a hold of your book? Besides coming downstairs to the library, but how can they
right. Well, I'm on Amazon.com, and all my 3 books are together.
Yeah.
And I'm also on BarnesandNoble.com, and they can do that. If they're ever down Cape Cod, you can go into any bookstore and go into the library, and you'll find it there too.
You know, a lot of authors were talking about going to craft fairs, art fairs, and like I said, a lot of them say, "Why are you sending me there?" I'm like, "You watch." But they're there, gee, I just found out it's $100 to rent a table. I said, no. Get a per friend to go with you, another genre author, and somebody who, like your friend, 2 different genres. Split it,
We do.
and it works like a charm.
The one that's coming up this weekend is the Howard Cranberry Festival.
Oh, yeah.
They do 3 a year, but we usually do the one now because it is the biggest. And her husband sets up the tent. On a typical first day, we do Saturday and Sunday, I could sell 50 books.
Yeah.
So the cost is a little higher than most of them, but once we split it, you sell a few books, it's golden already. You've already made your money, and the rest is profit.
And also, too, I say, it's not just because if you need to go to the job and somebody needs to sit there, but you also want to get up. Maybe carry your books with you. I've done this for my authors up at the Danversport, and walk around and say, "Gee, have you seen this book?"
Yeah.
And people start coming over, and then get around and meet the other authors. You're thinking, well, why would I care about that? Because they may know somebody who would love to have you come and do a presentation.
Right.
It's how you network and schmooze.
It's true.
And some are shy. They're like, well, I don't know. I said, look, do you want your book to get out there or not? It's not going to just be online. You have to get out there.
And it's not easy to
No.
go to these craft fairs. It's a lot of work. We went to, we have these little houses in Hyannis, and they are all different colors, and people rent them by the week or by the month. And we decided to do it for a week, which we only did a weekend. We were there for 7 days, and we were there from, I would say, 10 o'clock in the morning, and we couldn't close till 8 o'clock at night. And so by the time we got home, by the 7th day,
You must have been exhausted.
it took a toll. I thought it took a toll, and I thought that, because you can't tell the weather, and you can't tell the time of year, because it really wasn't tourist season, although people were coming in on the boats. And you had to do it at night because you had 2 big restaurants there, and people would stroll, because it has a boardwalk. So people would stroll after dinner, so you really had to be there.
Sure.
So I found, I think you have to find your niche on that maybe a weekend would be better, a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday rather than a whole week, if it's going to take a toll on you. Because people say, oh, you're going to a craft fair, and it's wonderful because if it works, but it is hard.
I know. I used to do craft fairs. One day, well, I'm going to be honest, one day wiped me out. I mean, it was, you're planning. It's the planning. You're nervous, you're happy about it, but you're nervous. You're setting up, and now you're going to sit there and you're going to, okay, how can I do a little bit more and more and more? By the time the day was over, of course, my son was little at the time, like, oh my God. We have an author who comes in here, he's a mystery author. He's 80-something years young, and he summers on Martha's Vineyard. And I don't know if I told you, but there's an annual, I don't know, nighttime fair or whatever. They go from cottage to house. People can just go from one to the other all night or all day long. And he loves it. Of course, he doesn't have to move. I mean, he's in his own...
Yes, right.
He loves
So
it.
people come to him.
He's from
all night.
Hopedale. Hi out there, Glenn Ickler. We're expecting another book from him soon.
Oh.
He writes mysteries. He's from... I think it's excuse me, Glenn, but Montana?
Montana?
I think it is, but anyway, he's been on, and I said, why don't you start writing about New England? Because that's where you live. He says, yeah, I know, but they're all about this mystery cup, out there. But when did you know, how old were you when you thought you might like to write? Any idea about it?
Not really. Well, I shouldn't say that because I did write. I used to draw, and I used to write poetry, and I used to do little things. And I did want to do it, but like I said, life changed, and I went into the medical field, And then after the medical field, I went into doing interior decorating, and I did that for 40 years. And then I retired. And
Were you a nurse?
No.
No, okay.
No, I did research. And then my husband and then when he passed away, I thought to myself, I need to write. I just need to write. It was so cathartic. And I read Nauset has a program, and I got the catalog, and it said, if you ever wanted to write a book, do it now. And so I said, so I called up, and the teacher, she had it actually in her home and not at the school. And then I met all these wonderful people. And after about a couple of years, we thought we were okay enough to break off and form our own. Not everybody, but certain ones. And we've been together since 2007.
And
We've
she
been together.
she was a teacher, and she charged to show people
Yeah,
how to
she
do
charged us. Yes, she charged, and she wanted us to bring in our work every week.
this. For so many weeks she would charge, or every time?
No, it was an 8-week course.
How much was it by?
$90.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it started off at $90,
Very good, yeah.
and so we did that, and we did that through the summer, and then we kept doing it for a couple of years.
Sure.
We kept taking the 8-week course, and then we decided that maybe we're okay now, and we can go off by ourselves, and we can critique ourselves, and so now there's 9 of us,
Yeah.
and we meet every Friday.
And you enjoy it, don't you? Guys, you see.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Do you lead it all now? Well, you're a pro. I mean, do you lead it to help other people now?
Oh yeah, people talk when they come to the booth,
Yeah.
and they want to know, well, gee, I'm starting to think about writing children's books, and what did you do, and how did you get started, and we give advice, on how to do it, and what did you do, how did you get it published, and things like that. Oh yeah, people pass me when I'm at the booth.
We're talking with Anita Caruso, and she came to visit us today from Cape Cod. She is a children's author, and she's written the series Braden's Magical Journeys. And, the age group, would you say, was 4 to...
2 to 8.
2 to 8. So, if you're a mom, dad out there, 2 to 8, these are so cute. And the stories, I mean, what better than a great-grandma to write these? And with the great-grandson to base it on.
Yes.
Now, the next one will be coming up. You've got the forest one. What's the next one going to be called?
Braden's Magical Pirate Ship, but that's going to be, it'll probably be another year before that goes
You'll
out.
let me know, right?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, the Magical Pirate Ship, because these, of course, are going to go to my son's little baby boy there. And,
Well, what happened is people come up to me and they say, when tourists come to Cape Cod, they want books on Cape Cod.
Not always.
But they do come and they'll say, well, is that got anything to do with Cape Cod? And I'll say, well, not exactly. I said, however, the carousel does, because Braden comes to my house on Cape Cod and he visits me. And it's strange because sometimes you'll get a person come to me and say, well, that's for boys, and I have a girl.
Oh.
So that's why this was when I had just the first one. So I said, okay, we'll put in a great-granddaughter in the second one. And then, but it still had Braden on the cover. So when it came time to do Braden's Magical Forest, I had a great niece. My sister's daughter had a baby. So I said, you know what? I said, and she was named after my mother. So I said, she's going to be a princess warrior. I'm going to put her on the cover with Braden, so there'll be a boy and a girl. And so when people come and they want to know which book they should get, I ask them about their family.
Yeah. That's
Excuse
a good
me.
thing to do.
And if it's a boy or a girl.
Will it be the pirate one?
Well, the pirate one I do. I have a great-granddaughter, and I'm going to have her as Ruby the Red.
Oh, cool.
And she's going to be the pirate.
Yeah.
And what happened is I had an old boat in my backyard.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
It's dry in here. I mean, every guest seems to...
And so that boat was there for 5 years. So I kept saying to my son, I kept saying, that boat has to leave. So he said, okay, I'm going to get somebody to come and get the boat. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take a picture of the boat, And then I'm going to put Braden in the boat with his magic glasses, and then he's going to end up on Cape Cod, and he's going to be down, and he's going to get on a pirate ship. And that's how I started it. So I started writing that, and then I stopped, because when The Forest came out, I said, I really have to get these books out there, and then I can start to work on. Now I'm going to start working back on the fourth book.
Again, how can people get a hold of your books?
Okay, they can, if they're on Cape Cod, they can go into the libraries and they go into the bookstores. If not, you can go on Amazon.com. All three books are there together, and in BarnesandNoble.com.
Where are you going to be appearing now? Say a library. Any library? Well, you're going to the Auburn Library.
Yes, I'm going to be at the Auburn Library on September 23rd.
Okay.
And
what time, Anita?
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
11 a.m.
Bring the kids.
I'm going to bring Braden. Hopefully he'll be good. He'll be fine.
I can't wait.
And my granddaughter. I'm going to hope my granddaughter gets there too.
I can't wait to meet Braden. I mean, he's the star of the show in these
Yes,
books.
he is. He is.
Is he quiet or is he very active?
He's very active.
Uh-oh.
So
Okay.
we're not sure how that's going to work, but maybe I could introduce him, and then he might have to leave and go into another room. If I can get my daughter there too, his Nana,
Yeah.
she might be able to
Watch
see how things go. I've already prepped them ahead of time.
Well, I know the Auburn Library, and I've met clients over there, and it's a lovely library.
It really is, and Jean is such a wonderful person. She really is. I met her actually a couple of years ago when I brought in my first book. I think she said I have all three of your books, so probably my daughter brought them in, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And
Your daughter's in Auburn.
yes,
Yeah.
she's in Auburn, and my sister lives in California, and I mailed her the books because her niece, her granddaughter's in it, and she brought it into a bookstore down there. So I'm just trying to, I would like to get off Cape Cod and be recognized off Cape Cod as well. I don't know what this, I'd like to get my books even over into Europe, if we could get it over into Europe.
Right over here, I think I've written to you, but in Westboro, people hear me talk about it all the time, a Tatnock bookseller. They love authors. Westboro is about 8 minutes from here.
Oh, really?
Milford Library. We just were attending an author's presentation at Milford.
I heard
8 minutes up the street.
Really?
They love it. They packed the room. This end of Central Mass, Metro West, very interested in authors. Well, I could go on and on, but it's besides the fairs, which are great. I schedule get them to schedule themselves for that. But I love some of the book. There's one in Webster called Book Lovers Gourmet. This woman runs it. It's a cute little store.
Oh, Webster's not far at all.
No, so many authors. I always steer them that way too. But there's so many, and you being a children's author, there's lots of children's bookstores. Do you ever get to the schools?
Yes, I did. I went to a charter school, and I had 40 children, young children. They all sat on a mat, and they were so quiet. And I read, because I only had the first two books, and I read both books, and I sent home the cards to the parents, but I didn't hear anything. So I think what you have to do on a case like that is to have the parents with the children.
Yes. Yeah, I think I had an author, too, who had a children's book years ago. And I went to a local school, and the principal loved the book. She said, but, remember Captain Underpants? It's still out there.
Yes.
Right, that was a little controversial when my son was little, but I didn't think anything of it. I said, oh, okay. This one was about a genie, a little boy who puts his finger up his nose, and out comes a genie. But she said, believe it or not, there will be some parents who will put up a problem with this. I said, you've got to be kidding me.
That's true.
And it's an adorable book, and I had her promoted all over the lot, and nobody else had a problem. But the principal, guy lover, she says, I love it, but I can't have it because there are always some in a crowd that are going to have a problem.
Oh, for sure.
But again, we're talking with Anita Caruso, and she's the author of the Braden's Magical Adventure series, Braden's Magical Carousel House, The Magical Jungle, the new one, Magical Forest. I mean, and now the fourth one's coming up. Now, if you live in this area, come on down to the Upton Library. come over and ask. Usually up there, if it hasn't made it to the author's wall yet, that's okay. They'll be down there. Matt, our librarian, can help you out with that if you'd like to look at it, borrow it. But of course, you can buy it. Again, how can they get it?
Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. All 3 books are up there. The memoir is up there as well.
Yeah.
And if you're down on Cape Cod, the libraries and the bookstores.
And you want to get more over the bridge. You want to get out here.
I would like to get out here a little bit more.
How far would you go? I mean, Auburn, obviously.
Well, West, when you talked about Westboro, you said it's only
It's
not
8
that
minutes up the
far,
road, yeah.
and you talked about a few other places.
Yeah.
I
This
would.
is a great, say Webster from here. I don't
Webster
know.
is not that far, 'cause,
Webster's
yeah,
30 minutes from here.
right.
Which is nothing. Webster, Milford, what, maybe 8-10 minutes up the road?
So I stay with my daughter who lives in Auburn,
Yeah.
and so we can go to Webster and different places like that.
Yeah.
I'd be, the day before I would come up, and
Yeah. Grafton Library is very, they're open to new things too. Actually, if you come, talk to Matt when you see him today downstairs. It just seems to be sort of a boiling pot. If you look at the different of course that's what I do, but I look at all of them and I figure, where will this author be the most excited to be, and where would they be the most excited to see her? Well, last night up at Milford, they had a paranormal investigator on. The last time we were there, they had an FBI author who was sitting right where you
wow,
are.
that's
So
great.
I make sure they get back on here. I said, come on this way too. So some of them are booked 2 or 3 months in advance at other places. One, he's going to Europe. When he comes back, he'll be on here. But there are so many ways, and when you have your DVD, that's freedom. You take that anywhere you want. Of course, we're on YouTube internationally, online internationally, on Upton Television. For those of you who are thinking, I miss your show during the day or whatever, you go to uptonma.gov, scroll down, hit video streaming, hit Be My Guest, and there'll be numerous previous episodes on for you to choose
which
one.
I've watched.
Oh, yes. You can also
I've
go
seen the right.
to YouTube and just go Jan Lewis, Be My Guest. I was not prepared for that. When we first started the show, I don't know, back in 2012, my co-producer said, we're on YouTube. I'm like, oh, okay. And not till I checked, the authors had got ahead of us. They had already put theirs on before they got in line, before it was on. Oh my, it was wonderful. But it was funny. I'm like, oh my God, how did that get on so soon? And that's the freedom.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
No, that's going to be good. Like I said, it's hard because you're trying to get the books out there and you want people to know who you are.
Yeah.
It's not easy, especially with children's books too, because there's so many people who are writing children's books. I've had comments on the books. They like the glasses effect because here he doesn't wear the glasses because he hasn't found them
On
yet.
the merry-go-round he does.
But
The
he
carrot-
does on the merry-go-round, and in the 3rd book, because sometimes a mother will come up to me and say her child's been bullied at school for wearing glasses, which
Yes.
I don't think they should be doing today. Everybody wears glasses. And it's wonderful that they see Braden and having the glasses. So I never thought about that before.
Well,